So here I am talking with Robert Bartlett, Andrew Smith, Megan Simard, and yes, thank you. As I said earlier, you're all part of, I hope you don't mind me saying this, I know we're talking about Dr. Mantis. If you don't mind me sort of referring to you as the team, part of the team behind Ruthless Spectator, that might be the wrong way to describe it, but obviously, ultimately, I've looked at your website, I have a really good understanding. It's a brilliant website, brilliant content on there. And in fact, as I say, that Sunday Driver pops up. And if you remember, Rob, I did mention to you about it. I thought that's you're funny. I mean, they're all funny, but that's the one that really tickled me. So, yes, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations with your nominations for your short animated film, Dr. Mantis. Where do I start? Well, Megan, I know you're the voice. You're kind of the voice of this one. Or you are, would it be fair to say you are Dr. Mantis? Is that a better way to describe it?
Yes, I am the Dr. Mantis, the otherwise impressive Dr. Mantis.
So how are you involved in this in terms of, I kind of know because of some stuff that's been sent to me looking around on the website, but what's your gig in terms of where you've come from and how you've become not just involved in Dr. Mantis, but how you know or a part of the Ruthless Spectator team? How has that all come about?
I guess I'm one of the ground members with Rob. We met, what was it, maybe 6 years ago now? Yeah, around 6 years ago. In passing, when he was doing How to Succeed on Broadway, I actually worked in a restaurant down the street, which seems very cliche, and it's true. And we met, and we got talking and became friends and shared, ideas about things we want to do creatively and in the industry. And Ruthless Spectator was an idea that Rob had with Andrew and Gary Grant. Even before we met, I think it was kind of like a bit of a little bit of a nugget of an idea, right? And then they started to kind of develop that, and I actually auditioned for them, and then the rest is kind of history. You've seen kind of the rest come about on the web. So
Megan is represented quite well on the Ruthless Spectator.
I'm literally everywhere.
She takes the word versatility to a new place.
Yeah, which is fun. It's a blast. Every week I, come up with a new idea, a new script, a new character, and I get to go with it, and it's a blast. It's a total blast. So yeah.
With an animated film, I don't know if you noticed, but perhaps Rob's told you, I've interviewed literally hundreds of filmmakers, and when I say filmmakers, a bit of a catch-all, and I do mean directors, actors, actresses, editors, but with an animated film, I suppose, how do you become fitted? I'm struggling with the words here because, of course, it's an audio performance. And would it be a case of? I mean, what I'm trying to get at here is I understand how it is with actors and actresses in what we would call traditional film, but how does that actually work with an animated film? How are you cast in that?
Well, initially, I think Rob was going to do Mantis, weren't you? Yeah, initially the roles were reversed. I was playing Dr. Mantis, and Megan was playing the Caterpillar, playing Fred, and it just seemed flat to us.
It wasn't jiving.
There was nothing there. The chemistry was wrong, whatever. And so Gary said, well, why don't we flip them? Why don't you be the Caterpillar, Rob, and why don't Megan, why don't you be Dr. Mantis? And, that's when the bells went off, and it just seemed it was a natural from that point on. So.
Right. I think we went through, initially we went through at least 5 different scripts, too, before we kind of, really, and it had a lot to do with, switching around characters and trying a lot of different things, and then what you see is kind of the final product of those kind of initial ideas, too, so.
Mantis, initially I played Mantis, like a cliche German psychologist, and then at one point I think he turned British, and then when I got to play the Caterpillar, Fred was a Cockney Caterpillar, and so his real nature was to become stand-up comic. So,
dear, it sounded like Dick Van Dyke there from Mary Poppins. Dear. Now I'm going to go a little bit off piste here because I know we should be talking about the film and also about Ruthless Spectator, which we will in a moment. But I saw this. There is a point to me mentioning this. I saw this wonderful background film about life at Pixar, what it's like to work there, and it looked a real barrel of fun. I imagine, is that what it's like, a Ruthless Spectator?
Yeah, sometimes I think we have more fun working on the projects and getting to the final product than anything else. Like we do. It is a blast.
Andrew and I will, and often Megan will commiserate on scripts during the week, and we'll get a working script, and then Saturday we'll go up to the studios, which are in Connecticut, and we work in front of a green screen, and we have other cast members in the troupe, and we spend the day shooting whatever piece we have, and then Joe Gugliotti, who is one of the founding members of Ruthless, he breaks out the wine, and then we all drink a couple of bottles of wine, and then we drive home to New York. So it's like a clubhouse. It's like
very efficient.
Yeah, very efficient, and we all really like each other a lot. And it makes it easy to work with people whose talent you respect, but you also really like as people. So that makes it more fun even than it is a job.
Yeah, and I think we all go into it never really completely sticking to the script word for word, which allows for a lot of play. And I think a lot of times some of our best stuff comes out of that kind of exploration while we're doing it. And
you stumble on these happy accidents.
Yeah.
You know, one of the first things we did, the Honey Boo Boo at 55 or whatever it was. We had a script, but then we just kind of rolled tape. And, you know, this fat, blonde-haired former child beauty queen just started going on and on and on, and some of the best stuff was coming out of that.
Yeah, the rambling, the improv.
What's really unusual is I've never come across a company that produces a lot of comedic material, film comedic material. I mean, obviously I speak to lots of companies that do the odd one and might do a few, but yours is is very, very different. I mean, to me it's very different. You may know of other companies or organisations that are in this field that do similar thing, but I don't. But and on top of that, you're producing animated films. It's a bit of a leap from live action, isn't it? And is this your first one? And how do you go about planning for that? Because it's a completely different art form.
But it's not really. Comedically, it's not.
No.
As far as the writing or the performances, don't you feel? Do you make an adjustment because it's animation as opposed to live action?
I think I'm a little bit more conscious of the visual, knowing that it needs to be drawn, it has to be illustrated, and knowing that it's flat,
right?
Even though essentially the other stuff we do is also two-dimensional. We haven't gotten to 3D yet, but that's coming, so I'm a little bit more aware of that, I think.
Well, it is true that we were doing very stylized animation, and because it was stylized, I know Megan, her performance was somewhat stylized also. To match the animation, it was that flat, dry. It was very dry.
Yeah,
I think
everything a therapist should be, really.
Right.
I also think when we have ideas, we definitely think about the best medium for that idea too. And so we might have an idea, and we're like, oh, well, that's definitely a better kind of that'd be a better bit for just a 15-second kind of throwaway. And then we have ideas where oh, well, that will really work as a music video. And so one of the cool things about being kind of our self-contained group that we are, of just all original materials, that we have the ability to decide what medium is best for what idea and kind of go from there too. And I think animation for us was a natural step, but it was inevitable, for sure.
Gary definitely wanted to get into animation because of the ability to do a lot more than you can in our relatively small studios. We work in a green screen studio, but it's very small. There's not a lot of cameras, and we're a little limited lighting wise. We get better and better as we come along. When I look at some of the stuff we did early on compared to what we're doing now, it's head and shoulders above what it was.
I think the animation travels better.
I mean, but you also get a lot more with it. The reason why we're talking to England is because I think it goes across national lines better. I think
definitely. I think
the sensibility to me has always been when Gary first, when we were tossing around the ideas, and we came up with the idea for an insect analyst. It just we immediately thought, this is so British. Right. We want desperately to make this as close to the Goon Show, Monty Python, Morecambe and Wise kind of sensibility. And the second one we're doing, the sequel, has even more of that. And we actually think that it could possibly be developed into a half-hour series on BBC. I think that the realm of possibilities, opening up the story to show Dr. Mantis' home life and her situation, and in this new one, she's always scribbling on her pad, and it's never really about what's going on. She's doing her grocery list and whatnot. One time she's doing a crossword puzzle, and the next time she's writing a Dear John letter.
But when we were recording the other day, I think the direction was more Python.
Yeah.
So we're not shy about our comedic heritage. We're deeply influenced.
Yeah.
Well, we produce the best comedians. I mean, everyone knows that.
I mean, it's true. Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, looking at on a serious note, looking at some of the stuff that's come over from the States in the last 20 years, frankly, is unbelievably good. More mainstream, I guess, if that's the right word, but honestly, you do produce some amazing comedy. You really, really do.
Oh, that's sweet.
No, you really do. Actually, that kind of leads me on to the next question. This could be quite tricky to even ask or difficult to answer. And I know we are talking about the fun aspect, and genuinely, it sounds like an amazing life, and everyone's involved in Ruthless Spectator, and it sounds great. But I mean, is it possible? I suppose it might. This question, Rob, might be, if you forgive me for saying a little bit more aimed towards you, because I know we had a brief chat, and I know you've been on the comedy circuit for quite some period. How tough is it to? I mean, is it possible to explain to people if they really, really want to get into working in comedy for a way of life, just how difficult it is? It might be a very difficult question to answer.
It's a difficult question to answer because it is a difficult area to pursue. More so now than when I first started. When I started, it was kind of like the tail end of the new wave that was coming out of the showcase clubs, like the Improvisation and Catch a Rising Star and the comic strip, the training ground for people like Jerry Seinfeld and Marr and Eddie Murphy, who I worked with in an improvisational trio.
Oh, right.
I mean, all those guys I worked with back in the day, and pretty much the possibilities were endless, and it started to grow. There was a boom. There were more and more clubs opening. It seemed like any retired policeman within an hour drive distance of a major airport hub would open up a bar and have a comedy show, and you could literally book a week in a different club every week for 2 years and never repeat. And then the bottom kind of fell out towards the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, and then the new wave started, and that is very, very different. I don't think I would attempt to do it now if I was starting out now, because it's so much more difficult. Number one, there are many more people. The competition is enormous, and part of the reason for that is everybody thinks they're funny. My dentist keeps saying, I could do a stand-up, and I'm thinking, yeah, and I could do a root canal. What are you talking about? So some of the clubs now, I mean, when we started Showcase Clubs, you would wait online on a Monday in the afternoon to get a number. for the privilege of going on for free on that Monday night for open mic night, and you have to do that a number of times before you quote-unquote passed and you were accepted to become a regular, which was playing more late-night spots, but for only like $5 a set. So now comics, especially here in New York, they're on the street trying to sell tickets, because they do what they call bringer shows. You have to actually have 10 people who've paid to see you in order to get stage time. Some clubs actually charge comics to go on stage. And as far as what we're doing with Ruthless Spectator, that's a very, very well-saturated area. I mean, that's why we're trying to branch out into different things, because it is very, very well-served in terms of Funny or Die and College Humor and some of the other websites. But I think that we're so different, and immodestly, I have to say, it was so much better. The idea was initially to do a version of an online Saturday Night Live, except ours would be funny. But I'm trying to come up with something. I mean, when you're competing against, cats playing the piano or a baby falling asleep, in the car seat, that gets 8 million views in 24 hours. It's not easy, but if you really do have the bug, as far as I can remember, I always wanted to be in comedy. I always wanted to be a stand-up comic. I always wanted to be an actor. I did my first stand-up routine in kindergarten, where I imitated a Pat Cooper routine I'd seen in the Ed Sullivan Show the night before, and I made Ida Green laugh, and that stuck with me. If you can make the girls laugh, it might not be a bad area to go into, but you have to do it. It's like a calling. It's people who sing opera. I mean, you don't just stop what you're doing in the middle of a work day and say, you know what, I think I should do this. You have to have it in you somewhere and have the courage to allow it to come out, and the determination to not give up, because it's as in any area of show business, it's incredibly frustrating. More so in comedy, but.
Well, yeah, I think I don't. Well, not think. When I speak to script writers that have done comedic scripts, I don't know, rom-coms or whatever, in half-hour shorts, I've often posed that question, particularly when they've written more dramatic scripts, and I've always been of the opinion it's more difficult to write comedic scripts, and they've all said it is, and I suppose because it's tough writing a script, but you've got to. The whole point is trying to make someone laugh, and if you can't do that, then then you shouldn't be doing that. And they've all said it is a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, they never they never read a dramatic script and say, something, this isn't sad enough. The opposite, of course.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's true. They always say this isn't funny enough. As a writer, I mean, I'm essentially a writer, and the problem now about breaking into comedy is that you have to do stand-up to get a writing job, and that is somewhat of an impediment for me, because I can't do stand-up.
Imagine this, because I can't imagine what it's like. I would think it's terrifying.
It is. It still is. Except for Rob.
Yeah, Rob. It still is. I don't think there's ever a time when there isn't some sphincter clenching when it comes to comedy. It always seems like, because it's always that one time whether you'll do stuff that's tried and true, stuff you can do in your sleep, stuff you've been doing for years, and it plays to silence. And, that's where the term flop sweat comes from. You literally start to perspire as though you were taking a shower. There's no worse feeling in the world.
So if something like, for instance, it's just a random film, one I'm looking at the website now, Good to Be the King, or Trump It Up, only because you President Donald Elvis Costello, which is quite amusing. Just anything like that. No, Good to Be the King. How would where does the germ of something like that come from? Does one of you just say, I don't know, I was thinking about something last night in the bath and suddenly this thought how does what I'm trying to get is what is the genesis for most of the work that you do? Where does it kind of come from?
Well, obviously we have a great subject to work with.
Oh yeah, every day.
One that provides infinite comedic potential.
Oh, yeah.
Gary's background is in music. He's a musician and a composer, and I'm a half lousy drummer myself, and I've written a lot of song parodies, and so we did some song parodies just so we could have something different on the site, because there weren't that many of those that we could see. And then Gary said one day, he said, we should do an original piece, and he said, I have an idea for what do you think about it? It's good to be the king, which is one of the great lines from Mel Brooks' History of the World. When the guard's son to piss holds the bucket for him and he urinates, and then it's good to be the king. So we just thought that there was a parallel to that. And then we start to write the lyrics, and then we start fooling around in the recording studio in the vocal booth with our engineer Steve Mecca, who is about as brilliant as Phil Spector, in my opinion. This guy is just amazing. But you're really good at the lyrics, because I mean, in full disclosure, most or all of the lyrics that you hear on all those are Rob's lyrics. He's really got a knack that I can't even approach. So that's all Rob. I've been doing them for Mantis in the Morning 30 years. So there you go. See, if I can't do it now, I'm not going to do it. Practice.
Well, I've got to assume with something like Sunday Driver, someone at Ruthless Spectator must have seen that film and gone, "Wow, this is a great. Well, it's a great film," and gone, wouldn't it be great if we had a guy who was older and a parody on this film? So I guess what I'm trying to get at is there's always a start to these things, and I'm assuming that's how that one started.
Well, that was Rob, because it came out a little bit differently than you originally saw it.
Actually, it was Gary's idea. I had turned Gary on to Baby Driver. He hadn't seen it. He saw it, and like myself, just went crazy for it. And we knew that it was very popular as a cult film, and Megan saw it as well, and we were all huge fans. Yeah, I mean, just huge fans of it, and so it seemed like a natural for us to parody, and Gary said, "Well, here's the idea: Sunday Driver." And so immediately the head goes to an old person in the left lane going 4 miles an hour, blinker on, or in England the right lane, but. See what I did there?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it's very good.
So we also, at the same time, our director of photography, Mark Holtz, found a software that allowed you to superimpose moving images on already existing film. And when Gary found that out, it just was like, well,
we have to do this.
We have to do this now. And that's how it came about. And, I never laugh out loud at anything. I mean, it's the comedy disease. I'll look at something and say, that's funny. Or, yeah, it's good, but I wouldn't open with it. Every time I watch Sunday Driver, I laugh. Every single time. Because there's just something about Andrew's face when you hear Pleasant Valley Sunday that just, I lose it. It's just, and it's silly. And I think, especially when there's I'm a huge fan of dark comedy, but there is definitely more room for silliness in the world, especially the way the world is. There's definitely room for just out and out silliness. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I mean, it's just funny for the sake of being funny, and so that's how that one came about. And I think it's one of the best things we've ever done.
And you're right. You've got a man at the top. Sitting in the White House, and it's a mind. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, it is. On one hand, for the good of the country, we feel like we should do something to try and move things along and get him out and have him do what he's supposed to be doing. Like running another game show. Selfish us is thinking, but
we can milk this
for a couple of months at least.
Right.
How about Megan as Melania? Isn't she great in that Uptown Trump?
Oh no, it's about the race.
Oh, about the race.
Yeah, the Megan Trainor parody. It's all about the race.
But you play Megan. Not Melania.
Yeah, in a few of them.
Yeah, Melania.
Yeah.
Trump, you want?
Yes, right.
Yeah, and Megan does a killer Melania. We did a series. It was an offshoot of our series 1600, which is just short little pieces about life in the Trump White House, and again, just silly, stupid, capitalizing on what was tweeted that day or whatever. And then Gary had the idea of doing a spin-off, and so the idea was to do Person of Interest and bring Ivanka and Jared into the mix. And so Megan is actually, has the honor of being not only the first lady but the first daughter as well. And Steve Mecca, our engineer, we actually called upon him to be Jared, and because Steve is also another really accomplished musician and singer and actor, and it was just when he does that look, and do the look, and he does the look, and he has a little ting. It's just great. It's just great, and we just thank God that exists. We're doing something now we call Tiny Trump, which is at the moment it's just a graphic thing, and what it is I took a photo of Peter Dinklage and I superimposed Donald Trump's head on it.
No offense to Peter Dinklage.
No, not at all. Not at all. I just want him to know that he was, the inspiration for this.
What is it with Donald Trump's hands? They look tiny to me.
Well, yeah. And what we do is we insert him into classic paintings. We have him in the Grant Wood American Gothic. We have him in the Edward Hopper Diner painting. We have him, I think, Whistler's Mother, we had him. Then we started inserting him into news photos in front of the tank at Tiananmen Square. And then movies, we have him on the piano at Casablanca. And recently, I put him on the poster for Usual Suspects, where he's standing in the lineup on the poster of Usual Suspects. And then we, just yesterday, I had him on the cover of Abbey Road, walking behind, I think it's George, between George and John. Oh, no, he's in front of them all. He's walking in front of them. And the idea now is to animate that, is to start off with the plain, flat graphic, and then have Tiny Trump pop in and then move, whether he dances or walks across or whatever. Just little silly, quickie, you laugh and move on, something you can send to somebody easily. And we have a theme song for it already recorded, which we did after we were done recording the dialogue for the second Dr. Mantis.
It's like around Trump on a shelf kind of game.
Right.
Yeah. Like wherever we can find, whatever place we can put him.
It's like where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? Exactly. Yeah.
So, just finally, is there kind of a grand project that you can talk about? There's something that's, you might not better talk about this, so it might be difficult, but is there something sort of going on that's going to be radically different or a bigger project?
Oh, boy. Well, everything. We're going to go to the Catskills. I think the possibilities are endless, and I think to everyone's great credit, we're all open for anything, and things pop up and happen and get presented to us that we didn't necessarily expect, but we have to pursue because they're great ideas. And we're very blessed to have the group that we have creatively, the producers, the directors, the writers, and of course the actresses, and to a lesser extent us actors, but to realize these things. And I think I can see a point where we are producing a weekly program either for Netflix or broadcast or one of the cable stations or even the BBC to either do a half-hour sketch show or do a half-hour animated series.
Or tell them your idea about the morning show.
Oh yeah, we're also working on doing basically it's a version of the late night chat shows, but it would be in the morning, and so it would be drive time, essentially morning radio, but we would stream it on Facebook Live, and then also have it on Spotify or one of the streaming services, so you could hear it in your car, and then we would archive it for a podcast, and we would have a live band, musical guests perhaps. We would interview a comedian. We could do sketches. I mean, we have so many sketches that we could just drop in that we already have. And we'd have a live audience, and it's very, very exciting. So that's at the moment what we're working on. And then who knows? There could be Ruthless Spectator, the motion picture.
Okay, that's it. Brilliant. Listen, thank you very much.